Hello everyone, welcome back to my channel. If you are new here, my name is Monica. I like to post anti-MLM, life, and some true crime content as of recently. Wow, if I could talk, that'd be great. In today's video, we are going to be discussing some anti-MLM content. We're going to be talking about how MLMs attract sociopaths and also tying it back into part one that I did on Monday, which was how MLMs attract narcissists. I do just want to say as a disclaimer, this video is for entertainment purposes only and just my opinions. Also, I do urge you to do your own research because I am human and I can also miss certain things that maybe someone else could find. This video series was actually thanks to Mombie. I'm going to pop up two things up on the screen right now of where you can find more information about her and that sort of thing, because I did express to her that I was having quite a hard time coming up with some content for this channel regarding anti-MLM, and she sent me all of the research for this video, so I do have to give her a ton of credit for this. She did help me out quite a bit with this. So in part two, I will be going over, just like I said before, sociopaths and how they're attracted to MLMs. Because of this, please do not use this video as a way to self-diagnose. Please do not take this as medical advice. If you or someone that you know, you think that maybe they're suffering from this, please seek medical advice from a professional, not from me. Now that I've gotten the intro and all of the disclaimers out of the way, let's get into the actual video. Let's move on to what the actual definition of a sociopath is. It is a mental health disorder characterized by disregard for other people. Those with antisocial personality disorder, ASPD, or also known as APD, may begin to show symptoms in childhood, but the condition can't be diagnosed until adolescence or adulthood. Because in part one I talked about NPD, in this one we are going to talk about the differences between NPD and ASPD. So the difference between the two is with NPD, the person is basically striving to be the most important person. They are striving to be admired by people. Whereas with ASPD, they tend to be a little more malicious with their intent, and they have absolutely no feelings or any regard for anybody around them. The best example that I could find that was a really great breakdown in simpler terms, in case you're like me and you have analogies that you look into as well. So this was actually taken from the blog post that I have been referencing in both part one and part two. And this is a great example. I'm going to read it off of the screen. So a great example of APD versus NPD is a person going for the cookies in the cookie jar. The person with NPD goes for the cookies because they feel they deserve the cookies and likes the idea that others will be jealous because they have cookies. Whereas a person with APD goes for the cookies because they want them and will stop at nothing to get them. They will use trickery and deceit and do not care who gets hurt in the process. They do not care how other people view them. Doesn't that kind of sound a little familiar? Which brings us to the next topic, which is, what does ASPD have to do with MLM companies or MLM reps, whether it be the uplines or the downlines? I do have to stress that please remember that the uplines, as much as some people will always blame the uplines had to also be conditioned by someone before coming into the MLM. So who would that have been? The MLM company, which is why I always say that I have no problem with the MLM reps, because I do think that they have been conditioned to think a certain way. The thing with people that have ASPD is, along with some MLM reps, they lack a lot of empathy. They lack any kind of, I guess, feeling towards others, and they will blame their downlines for basically anything. And there are a few examples that I'm going to go over how this kind of ties into both things. So the first one is, you didn't work hard enough. This one really bothers me a lot because a lot of MLM reps will say this. You didn't work hard enough, so this is your fault. This is not anyone else's fault but your own. They don't stop to think that the structure is flawed. They don't stop to think that the uplines are making money off of the backs of their downline, off of the backs of their recruits. So with that being said, you didn't work hard enough. Here's the thing that bothers me with that, is that I'm going to go over a little bit with the training process and how I think that the reps, the uplines, they don't take any responsibility for someone else's failure. Now, I know that that sounds kind of wrong to say and it sounds kind of off, but hear me out before you make any kind of decision or opinion about what I just said. When you start a job, regardless of if it's a 9 to 5, if it's retail, if it's working at a bar or working in food service, or even working for an MLM company, there is some kind of training that should be involved, right? So because you need some kind of training, you would expect your superior, so your supervisor, your manager, your upline, to train you properly. From my personal experience, now this might be different for other people who were in other MLMs or people that are still currently in MLMs. My experience was they basically just gave us a script and they said, make it your own and make sure that you do it every single day and all the money will come. All of the people will come to you. All of your recruits will pop out of, not necessarily pop out of nowhere, but they said that this will be a way to help you with growing your business. And here is where I would like to compare it to jobs, real jobs out there in the world. When you get training, you get specific training. You get specific training on the programs that you're going to be using at your job. You get, even if you're just working as a cashier, you're going to get training on how to use that register because registers differ from place to place, from retail location to retail location. The things that you do at each place are going to be different, especially if you're working in different departments, especially if you're a manager or a supervisor. The way that things are done with each company are going to differ from company to company. Or let's say that you work in an office. I worked in customer service predominantly for most of my life. So from each place that I went to, the customer service was handled differently. The accounts were handled differently. There were different systems that we were using. And so I had to get full training on not just the customers that I would be dealing with, but the system that I was going to be using. There was also different ways of filing. There was different ways of handling certain situations. There were different people that you had to go through for certain situations. Sorry, if I could talk, that'd be great. But so that's what I'm saying is that you have to get specific training. And there's more in-depth information on how you get trained. So with any other job, if your people are doing badly, if your team is doing badly, it reflects on you as a manager or you as a supervisor. Because if you have someone above you, let's say that you have, I'm going to use my one job for example. There's the team of the people that are at the bottom of the food chain, right? Which was a few people and then also me until I got promoted into other jobs. But you have the people that are at the bottom of the food chain, then you have the supervisors and you have the managers, and then you have, at the one job I had, you had VPs of each department. And then you had directors and everything. So let's say that the VP or the director of the department, they get hold of the team's not doing well. They're not gonna go to each individual person at the bottom, so the downline, we're going to compare it to MLM, the downline, they're not going to go to every single person there and tell them that you're doing a bad job because you're not working hard enough. No, they're going to go to the manager, the people in charge of the team, and they're going to tell the manager, you're not doing a good job managing your team, so you need to do a better job. Whereas in an MLM company, it's the downline's fault, and the uplines will always get praise for whatever they do, regardless of how their team is doing, regardless of how many people are leaving the company. So that's a good example on how I think that the training, it should come from the uplines, and the uplines should be held responsible, but in their brains, they don't feel like they're held responsible for it because they already trained you and trained. A lot of the training is complete and total BS, but because they think that they already trained you and gave you all the tools to success, you're responsible for that. And if you're not doing well, it's because you didn't work hard enough. Meanwhile, you have someone that's working every waking second of the day trying to build their business, and they're not succeeding because the MLM structure is set up for you to fail. Okay, so that is one example. I'm so sorry that I went off on a tangent, but it gets me heated when I hear you didn't work hard enough. So the next example is you're being too negative. There's only positivity that's allowed in this group. How many of you who are either ex-Han bots, or how many of you who just know someone that was in an MLM or have seen it, whether it's on Reddit or just have seen screenshots of it from other groups that say, that people's messages, when they weren't positive or when they were against the company or when they were starting to question things, it was deleted, and the uplines would contact them and let them know that only positivity is allowed in this group. That happens a lot, and there's a lot of toxic positivity. MLM companies are known for toxic positivity because they don't want you to think outside the box. They don't want you to think critically. The next example, this ties back into part 1 when we were talking about people that have NPD. These MLM reps are conditioned to make you double guess yourself. So they will make you double guess the job that you currently have. So let's say that they're coming after someone who is working a 9-to-5 job. You have benefits, you have a 401k, not saying every job, but the jobs that I have worked for, I'm talking from experience. You have paid time off, you have all of this other stuff. Whereas the MLM, they don't have this. They can't offer that to you. But somehow the upline, the person who's trying to recruit you, will try to make you think a certain kind of way. And they will make you start to second guess yourself because of the way that they're making it out to be that your job is, you're not going to get anywhere with this job. And they tend to have this holier than thou type of an attitude. Now, I'm not saying that every single MLM rep is like this, because I am friends with people that are pro MLM. So I'm not saying that every single MLM rep is like this, but predominantly that's what we see. And the reps that have been so conditioned to think this way by the MLM company, you see this a lot with them. And you see this kind of behavior a lot with them, which I will go a little bit further into it in a minute. But this was also talked about in part 1, the materialistic lifestyle. They put on this facade on social media. They put up, whether it be on Instagram, they're going on trips to all of these beaches and these tropical places, and they have this sisterhood, and they have the Mercedes or the Cadillac or whatever the case may be. So they put this facade on and this materialistic thing that they put on social media that attracts other people, because who wouldn't want to live a lavish luxury lifestyle? Well, not everybody. There are people out there like myself who like to live a little simpler, but they make it seem like this is a dream job, that this is going to get you out of debt, that this is going to give you all of the things that you ever wished and hoped for, and that this is going to pay off your student loans or pay off your credit card debt, which 99.7% of the time, according to the FTC, it's not going to happen. The following thing that I'm going to say is actually from the blog post that I keep talking about in both part 1 and part 2 of this series. This is a good point that they made in this post, and I'm going to read it to you guys because I actually agree with this statement. I think that they put it into very good words. So, do MLMers have APD? As a whole, no, but it stems from the originals teaching their personality disorders to those below them. The owners and leaders have a genetic predisposition to this condition, but most MLMers and their downline don't. You have to have APD to be successful in MLM because there are too many overwhelming forces pulling an MLMer to quit. A quick cursory search on Google will show the failure rates of MLM, and I believe it has a correlation to people not having this disorder. The one quote that I say in so many of my videos, and I say this all the time, especially when I'm talking to other anti-MLMers, but my friend Alonda over at the Recovering Hunbot, she said it best in a collab that we did many, many months ago. You have to become corrupt. These MLM reps, even the uplines, unless they are scamming people and they know it, but deep down in my heart, I am giving them the benefit of the doubt that they were not always like this. You have to become corrupt in order to get to the top. There is a point in time where you have to be okay knowing that people are going to fail because the system is set up for them to fail. So that is why I agree with this statement, and that's why I brought up the thing that Alonda said, because this ties into this statement so much. Now, to kind of put my own opinion on that particular statement as well, just like they said, the behavior has to come from somewhere, because not all of these MLM reps, myself included, when I was in any MLM company, the person that I became was not the person that I was going into the MLM. I eventually went back to my normal self, but when I look back on posts from when I was in the MLM, I was saying things and doing things that I would have never done or said before. I do think that it came from the conditioning that happens behind the scenes. So it has to come from somewhere, right? It's maybe the message is being brought from the uplines, but it's one of those things like, don't shoot the messenger, because the uplines are the messenger from the leaders that are the ones that created the company. A perfect example is if you watch any of the conferences that they have. Savvy writes books. She has a ton of really good content with all of the different conferences that have gone on, with people that speak at these events, or just even to see how these conferences look like. When I watch these conferences and when I watch these people speak at these conferences, it gives me a very big Scientology vibe, because it almost looks like a service that you would have if you were part of Scientology. Now, I don't know if that's actually what they call it in Scientology, but I think you guys know exactly what I mean. When you look at the leaders of the company, so let's use LuLaRoe, for example. When you see Deanne come out on stage, she has this validation, but if you watch her, she does have this sense of importance about her, and she does have this kind of aura, not to sound corny or anything, but she does have this kind of aura that makes it seem like she thrives on this type of behavior that comes from the downlines, the people that, the teams that made her and her husband and her family rich. So I do think that the leaders of the companies, I'm not diagnosing them. I'm not saying that they have these disorders or anything like that, but their behavior is very similar to that of narcissism and sociopaths. I do think that it is very similar. And again, that's my opinion. I'm not trying to bash anybody or anything like that, but it seems a certain way, because these people, they know that they are making money off of the backs of other people, and they are conditioning everyone in their company to think a certain way. So I do think that what this person said in the article or in their post, I do think that there is some kind of validity to it, and I do think that they had a very good opinion on it. And again, I agree with the opinion, but at the end of the day, it is an opinion. You can form your own opinion, and you can also do your own research to see if anything that maybe I said doesn't really make sense to you, or maybe you don't agree with some of the things that I said. And I know that when talking about narcissists and sociopaths, it does sound very extreme. It does, and I do understand that. But there are similarities. There really are. Just if you look at some of the MLM reps, they're so conditioned to think and say the things that come from their MLM company. And that's why I think that this is a really good topic, and this is actually a really good thing. If you are interested in more of the background, the stuff that happens on in the background of MLM companies, I do think that you have to look at the psychology behind it. And I think that also comparing it to cults or researching cults, not saying that they are the same thing, don't come for me, I'm not saying that they're the same thing, but there are similarities. So when you look into how cult members deprogram, or when you look at just how similar they are, you can form your own opinion, and you can kind of understand why people join MLM companies. Why are these people okay with making the money off of the backs of other people? Because there are underlying issues, and I've heard this said by so many different people in the anti-MLM community, that when it comes to MLM reps and the MLM company is the illness, and the MLM reps are the symptoms of the illness. And that is the perfect way of looking at it, because the problem is the structure, not the MLM reps. So I would love to hear your guys' thoughts in the comment section. Even if you disagree with me, I would really honestly love to hear your guys' perspective on this. And I know that in my last video, I talked about which video I would do for my next true crime one, and it would be an actress that is very well known. Some of you guys have been guessing, and it's funny because some of the ones that you guys are bringing up are cases that I would love to look into as well. But I do have to say that that might not be my next one. It depends, because there are some anti-MLM or MLM related cases as well. So I don't know which one I'm going to do next. I'm really just kind of all over the place, and it really just depends on what my brain will focus on, because my brain capacity is just like, it's gone. So, and I know that I've said that so many times, but I do just want to say that if that's not the next one, I'm very sorry, but it will be coming to you guys eventually. So now that I have rambled to no other, now that I've rambled, I'm very sorry. But if you have watched up to here, thank you so much for watching. Make sure to hit like, subscribe, support me on Patreon, check out my merch, all that good stuff. And I'll see you guys next time. This is Monica reporting to you live from a highway. Bye. You're being too negative. There's only positivity.